What's up, everybody? What's up, everyone? What's up? Sounds like thunder. Did you guys hear the thunder last night? That was crazy, right? There's like a thunderstorm last night. Huh? Was there one in Boston? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Over here, guys, we had a thunderstorm last night. That was pretty crazy. Or RPGs. We can't even talk about what's been going down in my neighborhood. It hasn't been pretty. People staying home, getting bored, doing some things they shouldn't be doing. It's been pretty crazy in my neighborhood. Hopefully your neighborhood's been a lot more quiet and safe than what's been going down in my neighborhood. But it's all good. Guys, doing our check-in, seeing how everything's going. It's Monday, which means last night, Sunday night, I posted some new assignments on the Google Classroom, which means your assignments from last week technically should be done. So I've been looking at the classroom and seeing, who's got them done. Pretty much everyone's good, but there's a few people out there who hasn't gotten it done yet from last week. Come on, guys, let's get on the ball. You got new assignments up. Some of you are still missing work. Don't let that be you. And I see a few people who already started our assignments from this week. Yeah, X-Force. What are you doing? Oh, that's for your thing. My son's working on a graphic design class right now, so he's drawing some inspiration from this comic book design. Pretty cool. Like I said, in our last check-in, we talked about ways you can overcome boredom. So if you haven't seen that last stream I did on Friday, I think there was some good stuff in there. And a few ideas I gave you about how you can overcome boredom during this time of semi-quarantine where we're kind of not allowed to go out. So guys, I posted the work. I posted what I would recommend the order to do it. So once again, we're doing a Kahoot quiz. So there's a Kahoot challenge up there. We used to play Kahoot in the classroom together. Definitely probably more fun than playing it at your house, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So there's a Kahoot game up, but that's like your quiz of the week. So I recommend you do that last. I talked about that last time. A couple of people did that first before they even looked at the notes, or they didn't even use the notes, and they didn't do so good. Guys, should be an easy grade for you. I included a slideshow of notes. So again, for this week's assignments, the recommend order, you could go through the assignments any order you want, any way you want. As the school wants them all posted, they're all posted. So all assignments for the week are already up. And you have until, that's right, Friday. That's my Dora the Explorer video. When she talks to the screen, they shout. Anyways, so assignments will be due Friday. They're all posted. So you got a full week to do them. If you want, you could do them all today and be done for the week. Or you can do one assignment a day, however you want to organize it. But remember what I talked about last week. Do not procrastinate. Do not procrastinate. The Parkinson principle, putting it off till the last minute. Your assignments shouldn't take you all week to do, so don't put them off till the end of the week. Get them done. They're all posted. But I do have a recommended order for you, how I would do them. One thing I always recommend, guys, for any assignments I put up while we're doing this online learning, okay, since we can't be in the classroom together, I always recommend that you first look at the notes. So each week I'll put up some notes, like some slides for you to look at that has the information on it. So I would start there, guys. I would start with the slides. I would open up that Google slide that I put in this week's assignments. My neck's stiff, I don't know why. Anyways, I would open that up and I would start with that. I would go through the slides, read them carefully, think about them, read them, think about them. And then after you go through the slides, which shouldn't take you that long, I would then go and do the Ed puzzle video. Remember, those are YouTube videos with questions in it. Okay, those are kind of like your notes grade. All right, since you're not really writing down notes in your notebook, you're going to have some videos, some YouTube videos that have questions in it that you answer based off the video. So it's very easy if you're watching the video and paying attention. Okay, so make sure you're watching the video and paying attention, that you're not trying to have the video play in the background while you're doing something else, checking text or whatever, because you're going to miss information, because the video will pause itself automatically and give you a question. And you answer the question. You've seen this before. We've done this before. This has been part of our Google Classroom experience now, so you know this. But just to go over that, because some people were missing the Ed Puzzle assignments from last week. So these are easy assignments, guys. Don't skip them. Don't not do them. They're very important, because after you read the notes, I want you to watch the videos. So there's an Ed Puzzle video. It's by one of my favorite YouTube physics video makers. His name's Mr. Anderson. He has some good videos. We watched them before together in the classroom. And this one's on temperature. What is temperature? What really is temperature? And he does a good job breaking it down. So there's going to be some questions on that. But while we're on the topic, since I have you here, we might as well. Scotty, markers. Bless you. Markers.
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 Markers. Markers. Markers.
Hold on, guys. Trying to get some markers here. Markers. Check. Got the markers.
I thought you said Scotty Parker.
Me too.
Scotty, the rag.
Rag.
Rag is not down
How's the rag not down here?
because someone brought it upstairs.
So these Pigsley instead.
Why would they bring the rag upstairs? How am I gonna? Guys, it's so sad.
Figure you volunteered to.
It's okay. I'll use. You'll get. All right, we're gonna get the rag. So, guys, I'll give you a brief little tour of what we're really measuring when we measure temperature. So you have your thermometers, and your thermometers tell you the temperature. What's the temperature outside? If I were to ask you what the temperature is outside, it's not too bad today. It's probably about 50 degrees. So that would be Fahrenheit, right? And we could change that to Celsius, right? Thanks.
Whoops.
So we can change Fahrenheit to Celsius, right? So there's different ways you can measure temperature. So typically you think of temperature as a measure of how hot or cold something is, right? If you have a thermometer, it has like this, right? It has these marks. And depending on how high, or you might have a digital thermometer. Let's go with the old school one. So depending on how high it is, let's say it goes up. Say it goes up to right about there. And let's say that's 50, 50 degrees. Okay? So that's 50 degrees. And that would be Fahrenheit, which is just a unit to measure temperature. Like I measure length in feet. All right, but technically in physics, we usually measure length in meters, right? That's a metric unit. So Fahrenheit is like the English standard. We're gonna go to Celsius, right? So to convert to Celsius, there's this cool little formula where you do basically the Fahrenheit temperature, and then I'm looking this minus 32. All right, and then you times that by 5/9, and you get your Celsius temperature. I'm looking up the formula right now because nowadays with technology, handy dandy computers, right? So I could put in a number here, and this calculator does it for me. But there is a formula for calculating Fahrenheit to Celsius. But so That's about 10 degrees Celsius. About 10 degrees Celsius. About 10. 10 degrees Celsius. So, temperature. You know, you use a thermometer to measure temperature. You can measure in Fahrenheit, which you probably use around your home. But in the science lab, they use Celsius, which is another way of measuring temperature. And when you watch the video, the YouTube video, Mr. Anderson talks about another unit for temperature called Kelvin. Kelvin is just another unit. Hey, what's up, Thomas? How you doing? So good to see you. So just like we can measure the length of this room in feet or meters or yards, we have many different measurements. Same thing for temperature, Celsius, Fahrenheit, or something called Kelvin. Good, Thomas. Thomas, I was just talking about that. You passed the quiz. I was telling people, wait till you do everything else to do the quiz, because I think if you do the quiz at the end, I was recommending you look at the notes first. Then number two, watch the videos. So I was talking about this video I posted about temperature. What is temperature? And we were talking about that. We're getting into that now. Then there's another video with some questions about some beakers of water and some dye. And you look at cold versus warm. What happens to the dye when you put it in cold water versus warm water? It's a kind of interesting video. And in fact, Mr. Anderson talks a bit about that in his video as well. So I recommend you look at the notes, you watch the videos, and then you do your assignment. So there's actually another computer assignment through PhET where you get to look at some molecules of a material. Remember, things are made out of atoms and molecules, the building blocks, the Legos of life. And you get to see what happens as you increase temperature and as you lower temperature. How do the molecules move? What happens? How do they behave? Okay? Because as you're going to see today, temperature, besides telling you how warm or hot something is, temperature is actually a measure of something. So, Thomas, I'm doing good. Oh, good, Thomas. That's good. So Thomas is well ahead of his assignments. He's telling me how much he did, which is good. So we use temperature to measure how warm it is outside. But what is that really a measure of? So let's say we're taking the temperature of, we could talk about outside, but let's talk about, maybe we're taking the temperature. This is, oh, man, sneaky little devil here. This marker is not too good. Let's try another one. Let's say we're taking the temperature of, there we go. We have like a beaker. Okay, made that a little bit too big here. There you go. Let's say you have a beaker of some water, right? Or something like that. Some water in here. And we take the temperature and it says it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit, or if we want Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius. So what does that really mean, though? What do we measure when we measure temperature? And you'll say, well, how hot or cold something is, which is true. But what are we really measuring? So as you'll see in the video, and as you'll see in your computer lab this week, temperature actually is a measure of the movement. Technically, it's a measure of, let me draw what's happening here, okay? So water is made up of these little water molecules, all right? I'll simplify and draw them as like little circles, but technically H2O kind of looks like Mickey Mouse. It's a molecule. Oh, can you see that? It's a molecule made up of oxygen, 2 hydrogen, H2O. I'll simplify. I'll just draw as little these little balls. Okay, that's our water molecules. So what happens is, let's say we have this at 50 degrees, right? But let's say we want to warm it up, get the fire going. We're adding some heat, and we'll talk about what heat is eventually. What is heat really? You know, we'll get into that in physics. But let you know about heating things up. So let's say we heat this up. So what do you see? You would see this happen, right? You would see the temperature increase. You see a thermometer going up. So now maybe it's at 70 Fahrenheit. And then let me convert that to Celsius, get my handy dandy. I could use this calculation here. But let's just go quickly. 70 degrees. So it's about 21. 21. 21. So 21 Celsius. 21 Celsius, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So we heated it up. Now, temperature went up. Thermometer shows us temperature went up. But what does that really mean? So what actually happens? You'll see this in the video, Mr. Anderson's video. That's your Ed puzzle assignment. Check that out. Also, the notes talk about this. So here's what's going on is as we're adding this heat or thermal energy, we'll talk more about that in the future, but heat is thermal energy. So we're adding this type of energy here. So these molecules begin to basically, they were already moving. That's something you'll see in your notes, something called Brownian motion, something that was discovered and then Einstein theorized and made it, basically proved it. But basically the molecules are moving. You're going to see this in the computer lab. When you open up the computer lab this week, when you first open it, you'll see tiny molecules in this container, kind of like this, but they're just wiggling. They're not moving much because the temperature is very low. But as you add heat, so when you go in the computer lab and you add heat, you'll see these things start to move all over faster. They just start moving all over the place like crazy. And so the fact they're moving faster, all right, what that tells us is they're getting more of a certain type of energy, the energy of movement. The energy of movement. Anyone remember what the energy of movement is called? The energy of movement, what we call kinetic energy, because kinetic energy is 1/2 the mass times the square of the speed or velocity. So they're, yeah, you got it, good. So they're not changing their mass, but as they get heat, their mass doesn't change, but their velocity or how fast they're going does change. And you're going to see that today. That's kind of the point of today's, I shouldn't say today. That's the point of this week's work. The lessons I put up, the videos, the notes, the computer simulation, and the questions you have to do. Okay. Hey, what's up? So that's the point, is what is temperature really a measure of? What is temperature really a measure of? What are we really measuring when we measure temperature? We know it goes up when things get hot, it goes down when things get cold. What is that really a measure of? So it's a measure of the average kinetic energy. Average because, this is why we call it average. Hey, Jose, this is why we call it average, because some of these will be moving faster than others. They're not all going to move the exact same speed. Some might be a little slower, some might be a little faster, especially as they bump into each other and transfer energy as they hit one another. But in average, the more heat, the faster they move. So higher temperature, higher average kinetic energy. Lower temperature, lower average kinetic energy. So that is really what your lessons are all about this week. So you're going to see that in the video. You're going to see that in the computer simulation that you need to use, the FET simulation. It's going to look very similar to what I just drew here, actually. And you're going to be using the slider to increase heat or cool it down, take away some heat, make it colder. And you're going to be making some observations about what the molecules are doing. Okay, then you're going to relate it to a phenomenon you see in that. All done? My daughter just finished her work. Then you're going to relate it to a phenomenon you see. She's out. She's done. She's done. Then you'll relate it to a phenomenon that you'll see where it's pretty cool. You take 2 cups of water, and you take one and you heat it up so you have hot water, and then you have one that's like cold water. You take some dye. You could try this at home if you have food coloring at home. And you have some cups. Clear cups are better because you could see through the clear cup, but you could do it with any cup if you look through the top. But yeah, so you're going to warm water, cold water. You put drops of dye in each, and you observe what happens. And so there's a video I posted of some questions about that. It's a really cool observation. And in fact, Mr. Anderson also shows the same video in his video as well. So you're going to get to see it twice. But it's pretty interesting to see what happens. And really, it's all comes down to these molecules. The fact that the higher, the more heat we add, as it gets hotter, the molecules move faster, which has more kinetic energy because their speed is more. And that's what temperature is actually a measure of. It's actually a measure of the average kinetic energy, the average kinetic energy of that material. So hotter things have higher average kinetic energy because they're moving faster. Hey, how you doing, Trick Shots? So that's what the lesson is going to be about this week, guys. So speaking of just joining the stream, so that's kind of a nutshell what you're going to be learning this week. So you could rewatch the stream later if you just join the stream. It's got some good information. Definitely will help you with your assignment. But like I said, make sure you check out the notes I posted, do the videos first, and then computer assignment and do the quiz last. Or, you know, Thomas was so confident after he watched the videos and looked at the notes, he already did the quiz, but that's cool. So if you're just joining the stream, one thing I want to mention, there is a question I posted about what time's going to be good for the stream. Usually I do it at noon. Today I had to do it an hour later. I had to do it at 1 today. I couldn't make it for noon, but I'm here now. And we're going to keep it like noon for now for this week, but I'm curious. And so I put a survey question up on one of your assignments is a survey question. And it's just one question. When should we do this? When should we do our check-in / office hour stream, whatever you want to call it, question answer session, awesomeness, whatever you want to call it? What time's going to be best? Is it going to be keep it noon, or have it in the morning, have it later in the afternoon, or have it in the evening? And based on that, we're going to start to try to maybe adjust the time or keep it the same. So that's actually one assignment I haven't mentioned. So don't forget to do that, because it's going to help me figure out when can I get people more involved during this time. So I thank you all those guys who checked in. Grab my water real quick. Thank you all those who already checked in. It's pretty awesome. So any questions about assignments or anything, let me know, guys. So it's all about this. What's going on here? Looks like nothing, right? But at the microscopic level, these molecules of water are moving around like crazy. And if I were to cool this down, put it in the freezer, the molecules would move slower and slower, have less kinetic energy. In fact, that's why it would freeze if I left in the freezer. They would start to move so slow, they would start to bind, and they'd be attracted by these forces between the molecules, and they would actually start to bind together, stick together. That's what makes it a solid ice. The opposite, if I heat it up, the molecules move faster and faster and faster, have more kinetic energy, and they can move fast enough that they begin to leave a liquid into a gas state and would start to vaporize. It could boil, evaporate, all that stuff. So that's what it's all about this week. That's what it's all about. So guys, gave you a sneak preview into this week's lesson. It's pretty good. If you watch this stream, rewatch this stream, it's going to help you a lot with your assignment, especially on your computer assignment. It's pretty straightforward, just making observations, but at the end, It asks you to make a claim, evidence, reasoning argument about what happens to the molecules of the material as you add heat. So you got your claim, which is just your complete sentence answer. That's easy. You get your evidence, which is just writing what you saw happen in the computer simulation. That's pretty easy. But for the reasoning part, I'd love for you, and I would want you, and I need you to talk about the physics. And if you want a fancy word, the fancy word for this stuff, it's called KMT. It's kind of hard to see that this marker is not the best, but KMT stands for kinetic molecular theory. Kinetic, as you know, means movement. Molecular, because we're talking about at the microscopic level, the molecules and atoms, what they're doing. In theory, because it's something in science that we have decided is basically true all the time. So it's beyond a hypothesis. It's a theory of how things work. It's an explanation proven by enough evidence and experimentation that we call it a theory. KMT. So for your reasoning, I want you to refer to KMT, which simply is just talking about the relationship between temperature and the movement of the molecules of the material, what's happening at the microscopic level, and their kinetic energy. Because as you should already know, the faster something goes, the more kinetic energy it has, because that's part of our formula, mv squared. In fact, the speed is squared, or the velocity is squared, so that makes a big difference. Because when you square a number, you're multiplying by itself, makes a big difference. So the speed or velocity is very important to kinetic energy. So that's about it, guys. In a few minutes, I'm going to probably shut down the stream, and I'm going to post it on to the Google Classroom so people can refer to this and use it to help them with the assignments. Some good stuff here. Kind of went over the basics of what you need to know. So if there's no questions about any of the assignments, we're going to get going in a few minutes here, but now's your chance if you have any further questions. We'll just stare at each other awkward until we wait for more questions. Awkward silence. I don't like awkward silences, guys. Okay. Well, listen, as usual, I'm glad to see those of people who checked in. I'm glad to see everyone's doing well. Everyone said they're doing well. But if you're not doing well, if you have a question on an assignment, send me a message through Google Classroom or email me or whatever. Get in contact with me, okay? Or beyond that, if you need help with anything going on, please do not hesitate to contact me, and we'll try to get you all the support and help you need. So stay safe, stay healthy, everyone, and keep chugging along. New assignments up this week, so get them done. Remember my video I posted about some strategies you could use. Either set aside each day for a different class or do a little bit of each class each day. But please don't wait till the last minute, which would be Friday, assignments are due Friday, to do your work, okay? So guys, once again, thank you for tuning in, for letting me know you're okay, for any questions you may have, and reach out to me on Google Classroom if you have any more. And I'm gonna post this video so that you could rewatch it if you wanna kind of get the basics of what you're gonna be learning this week. Sound good? All right, guys, thank you, and I'll see y'all soon.